We can.
Yeah, because we're going live.
We're live whether we want to or not.
Check us out. It's it's going. It says we have an excellent connection, but the screens are all screwed up.
Let me get here.
I don't. Oh, wait a
Yeah,
minute.
here.
Wait a minute. Here we go.
Coming. So anyway, that Kurt Grill's a terrible.
Of course.
One of my favorites.
No, mine too. And I didn't even know where he worked or what he did the first 3 times I met him because it was a fun guy to talk to.
Yeah.
I talked to him and Lawrence Schick at the same time. The first met them both. I'm like,
Oh,
man,
hey,
you
look
guys
at
are
us. We're on the screen and it's working. Okay.
All right.
Well, welcome to Goddammit Zach.
I'm Zach.
That's Zach.
It's
I am
Goddammit.
his faithful sidekick, Skeeter Green, and our guest this week is none other than the.
Looks like the Iron Throne he's sitting on.
Yeah,
so.
I know. I don't even have descriptors for it. It's Alex Kammer.
Your professional child friend.
Yes.
Expert on all holes, especially games.
That's right.
Whoa. Yes.
Oh, zing early. It's aggressive early.
Yeah.
Well, aggressive.
No, it's getting saucy. Let's put up the Gamehole banner there. There we go.
I meant fishing hole.
Right now, you guys can't see it unless you're watching the YouTubes as well. But right now it says Gamehole Con 8, 203 days, 1 hour, 59 minutes, and 13 seconds.
Yeah. Yep. The countdown is on.
Yeah, let's just jump in. Alex, Are you ready for Gamehole Con?
Well, the answer is fuck yeah, I am. I'm really ready for Gamehole Con as a person that wants to go hang out and see all my friends and just get this going again. But that's a very open question if we're going to have a show, and it's a work in progress. So we're planning it because you can't not.
Right.
So we're doing all the things that we have to do. Event submission just opened up, and we're starting to get some games, and that's great.
Oh,
and the way
did it? I got to do that.
And the way we do it, a lot of shows ask you to buy a badge before you can submit events. We don't. So you can submit events without any obligation to us. You don't have to buy a badge.
Cool.
So there's no, at this point, why not? Get your events in, and then for people who do, you get priority as far as the slots you want and great space and all that kind of stuff. So the time is a great time to get your games in for us. But we're just trying to work our way through this.
I'm very interested in getting approved for that sponsor table too. Chop, man.
Yep.
The space True Dungeons, and I think Frog God might like to have that space so we can put our feet up a little bit. If we beat them to it, can we?
That is a huge space, man.
Yeah, 30,000 square.
We have huge egos, man. We need that kind of space.
Yeah.
Well,
one table in the middle of it.
I actually got to go through True Dungeon last year. That was the first time I've ever done it. And I have a phobia about haunted houses. And I didn't realize that is exactly what that would be. So Ian and Rocky's kids had to hold my hands as I went through the entire thing.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. That never occurred to you that stuff would jump out and scare you like a haunted house?
It's more like escape room than a haunted house.
Haven't you been doing dungeons your whole life, Skeeter?
I have, but I got left in a haunted house when I was like 5. The babysitter that was with me kind of let go of my hand and just went off, and I was stuck in there for a while.
You're supposed to not come back out.
Yeah, so
and Rocky failed again too. Then
let's not make this about me. So we've been talking offline, Alex, about conventions and how they, especially recent conventions, Gary Con, Cobalt Con, have switched to virtual. Mm-hmm. It doesn't, like we've talked before, it doesn't really translate for Gamehole very well.
Yeah, well, so those guys, especially Luke and Gary Con, I was involved intimately, let's put it that way, in getting Luke extricated from his obligations contractually.
Right.
As you guys know, I'm a lawyer, and this was the first time in my career that I actually spent meaningful time looking and researching and thinking about force majeure clauses. And fortunately, the contract had a very balanced one.
Okay,
And,
so time out. Can you explain that a little bit to people who have no idea what that means?
Sure. Force majeure means basically an act of God. It's a clause that gets built into contracts to say, well, in case something else happens so far beyond the contemplation of the parties, either one party or the other can get out or both can get out, but it has to be something within these parameters. And that's, active war, things like that no one has any control about. And
Canadians calling across the border in force, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Right. Any day now. So anyway, so Luke was confronted with a very difficult situation where this thing was all boiling very on the cusp of the show. He was ready to go. He had everything ordered. He was ready to descend on Lake Geneva and set up his con and go. And
it was very close, because I don't think a lot of people realize how much the 2 or 3 weeks before con are really already to the con for the people who are actually there.
Yeah, and if you just remember what things looked like in late February, where people were still like, "Is this just the flu? I mean, what are we getting so excited about?" and all that.
No one wants to believe that. No one wants to believe that.
No.
Yeah, and then
it's not quite the Black Death yet, but no one wanted to believe that it was.
Sure, and then Wisconsin dropped the shelter, the basically shelter in place order, and that then made it very easy.
Yeah,
you can't have and they did a great job of pivoting to a virtual experience for people to give something to folks, to have some experience, and it sounds like it went very well. I didn't participate; I was too busy, but it sounded like great.
We did our small publisher seminar, and hats off to the Wizards of the Couch group. Mm-hmm. We're going to have those guys on in 2 weeks before Cobalt Con, so they can talk a little bit about how they've had to pivot and have become superheroes in the last couple of weeks.
And those guys are great at that. Duffy and Brian and Casey. I mean,
Brian is no good. He's not a good person. He wears funny hats. No, I love Brian. I love both. I think the great show, great everybody. So
they did a great job with that, and they're undoubtedly CobaltCon is going to be great too. So here we are, positioned in November 5 through 8 are our dates.
Right.
And so when GaryCon was getting tipped over, if you asked me at that point, I would have said absolutely, Gamehole Con's going to happen. I mean, are you kidding me? That's November. Here we are in March. We're going to get this under control. This is no big deal. This is going to be a couple of months, and we'll be this will be behind us. Well, obviously things have changed since then. We have, there's so much uncertainty about everything. So we are, as we talked about, proceeding forward as if we're going to do a show. We have every expectation to do a show, but that's going to be a physical show. We are not going to do a digital show. We're not going to do a virtual show.
You never want to.
So what's going to happen if there is, goodness forbid, a resurgence or anything like that?
Great question.
For people who buy badges early, are you going to be able to refund them?
Absolutely. That's the only way we're going to. This is such a uniquely bad time to be involved in hospitality. It's just hard to even describe. It's just terrible. So not only are we looking at a potential of a situation where we may not be able to have our event based on act of law, right? We could be under a governmental order. I'm also actually, and that could happen, especially since we're in the fall, and a lot of models are suggesting that there's going to be a resurgence in September, October. Well, great. Yeah. But leaving that aside, let's just assume we can dodge that, and we're still open. To what extent does the gaming communities have an appetite to gather for a gaming convention? And I don't really know the answer to that. There are two schools of thought. One is fewer people are going to want to come to a convention, or two, more people or the same amount of people or more people are going to want to come to a convention because they've had so many other opportunities they've normally been able to go to denied.
Right.
GaryCon, CobaltCon,
North Texas. I know there were two very vocal camps during the GaryCon of, damn it all, we're going to be there anyway.
Yeah.
And no way, I'm out. And
so
I'm in
a weird position because I sit as part of the publisher where we sponsor a lot of these events, and we have spaces and booths that we have people who expect us to be there. So my personal feelings didn't come to it near as much as like, well, this is kind of supporting the people who've been supporting us, and they're going to continue on. We're going to go. So I didn't have much of at that point. I'm like, we're going to do what happens with Luke. We dropped our staff down to 2. We would do all kinds of things to minimize risk, but we were going to be there. But now it's like we'll like just like Alex talked about his kind of way he's doing it. That's kind of how we're planning it going forward. It's like we don't know, but we're going to plan as if.
So there's that threshold question of can we do it in the first place? Is there an appetite to it? And then a big consideration for us, of course, can we do so safely, regardless of what the government tells us? If we can't provide a reasonably safe experience for our attendees and our guests, and we're just not going to do it. What part of this process is that I've gotten together with some of the other major shows in the country, with Gen Con friends there, PAX, Gamma, Origins.
And here we go in the name dropping section of our show.
Yes, sorry.
Yes. I'm kidding. No,
this is the fluff my ego section of the show this evening.
No, see, you never really probably wanted to be the guy involved in all the super high level shows you had to have those kind of meetings.
Well, it's actually great that everybody's taking this as seriously as you guys are.
Well,
so thank you for that.
Well, yeah. So what we're going to try to do is promulgate some standards that some attendee safety standards. And so what's that going to look like? You know, if we're able to.
What are those?
Well, they're still in being worked on, and we're this is not knuckleheads like me coming up with it. I'm a lawyer. What the hell do I know about public safety? Health. So we're taking it from actual experts, and it's probably going to involve something that looks like taking temperatures at the door, masks, sanitizing stations all over, stuff like that. We'll see, and they certainly will have masks that'll be provided by us that are optional at the very least. I hope it's not mandatory. And will we have branded masks? Oh, come on, of course.
I need a half a dozen Gamehole branded masks.
If it doesn't have like a big eye, like a beholder on it, I don't want it.
No shit. I want one that looks like Bane.
Yeah, I want one like a K-Fisher that has thing on the front that hangs out down.
Oh yeah. Oh, come on, Mind Flayer.
Yeah.
I mean, it's screaming for Mind Flayer. Yes. We'll call Wizards of the Coast. You can have that branding idea. I just need a small percentage.
So so here's what we're going to do. We registration opens, I think VIG renewals late May, and then full registration opens in early June. And we're just going to do what we always do. And that's being very transparent, open with everyone and say, look, folks, we have no idea what the hell's going to happen. Right. We have no idea what you all are thinking, the reader of this email and the viewer of these social media posts. We are going to open registration, and you are going to tell us, based on whether or not you buy a badge or not, whether or not you want this to happen.
By a scientific survey, because the money where your mouth is, not just a click. I want to go.
Yeah. And if you buy a badge, it tells us we want this to happen. And also coming with that is going to be a guarantee of a full refund or a rollover to the next year. So there's no way we're certainly not going to be in a position.
That's great. Because especially for the VIG badges, because there's some, you have to renew that. So if that automatically bounces to the next year, that might be great.
Yeah, we're not gonna play games with. I mean, it's not playing games. We're in a position. We're remote enough that we can make.
Right.
If we, all right, as you guys know, we're not trying to make money anyway. And if we lose a little bit of money, that's okay. We just can't have a catastrophic loss, because then we're just going to say, well, what are we doing? We just can't do this.
And even more than the money is, you don't want anybody to get badly sick at your convention. I mean,
absolutely not. Yeah, that's the last thing we want to have. You have some. I mean, gosh, that's no. So I hope it's going to happen, but none of us know what August is going to look like. Right. I can tell you that the shows that are in that time period are likely not going to happen.
Heavy stakes. Yeah. No, I get it.
I'm not breaking any news because that's their news to break, but that's but we're all dealing with that. And what does the world look like in November? I don't know.
As someone who has no connection to the name drops that Alex can do, I cannot imagine in good conscience that Gen Con can go on as normal. I mean, you cannot squeeze 60,000 people into a single convention center, even if the curve has flattened. Somebody is going to have some lingering effect, and it's either going to be a mutated version of this, it'll be COVID-20 or COVID 19.5 or whatever, and it's going to go through there like wildfire. I mean, gamers are not the most hygienic people. I'm sorry to break it to everybody.
That's your silver lining, I think, on that, is that we could become that way, and that's a good thing.
Well, I think if for the average person out there who doesn't have any access to it, really anything more than I do, and you want to look and see, is an event like Gen Con or Gamehole Con going to happen? Well, do we have professional sports where I can buy a ticket and go to that game? Yes, no. And if that's no, guess what? That's likely the same answer. And I just don't. I think it's going to be tough. The baseball. I think they're going to lose their entire season. And I'm a huge Bucks fan, and I am crushed by the fact.
In Arizona, they say it's a possibility they'll play without fans all in Arizona.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what. Well, I mean, the NFL is doing a virtual draft. They're not going to have a big building with people in it. I don't know if they're going to have any practice or preseason games.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, the NFL is money for this country. So if they're saying no,
yeah.
But
so
we don't know yet.
Yeah. So that's the problem, is that we are dealing with such uncertainty. And, I know that there's a little bit of a, wizard's curtain behind how shows actually go, but I can tell you a little bit, and that is stuff happens every month.
Oh, yeah.
Leading up to show, 8 months before the show, 10 months before the show.
Yeah.
Things happen every month.
You're around thing from the day you stop. When you pack your truck up, I see you packing the truck up on Sunday night. You already started working on the next one by the time you're unpacking.
Right. We literally we take a week of let's not talk about the convention for a week, and we never make it because we start.
I was gonna say, there's no way you would.
We've had the conversations where it's like, all right, don't say the words Gamehole Con for this week, but next week I got to get back to it. I mean,
absolutely. And so right now, for instance, we've already ordered. We give away a D6, and we ordered 5,000 of them this year because we're. That's likely at least our attendance. So I've got 5,000 D6s. Yep. And they're ready to be, so I had to, that has to be done because I can't wait any longer. Right. I just yesterday I picked the shirt colors. And incidentally, I'll ask you guys, this is the first time I haven't had a chance to make a social media post about this. I'm wearing a blended t-shirt. I prefer blended t-shirts to cotton box shirts. Cotton box shirts are cheaper, and that's why you get those at cons. So this year we're going to offer 2 blended shirts and 2 cotton box shirts of different colors. So I'm just curious if gamers want a blended shirt. I have no idea, but I'll find out. Because
I have in the last couple of days, I get these Nathan Pyle t-shirts, the Strange Planet ones, and it has different options. You can get a comfy fit, kind of softer t-shirt, or you can get a heavyweight fabric t-shirt, and so it gives some options. And I mean, I think if that's not financially disastrous on your end to offer that many options, it's great for people.
The audience says blended.
Well, there's a reason why no one's done it, because it's expensive. They're more expensive shirts, and it's a pain in the ass to have a bunch of different colors and different shirts. But we do that because I like it. So they're going to be a cotton box shirt in black, of course, and military green, and then there are going to be blended shirts. One's going to be a kind of a lighter gray, and the other one's going to be a charcoal. So another version of black.
Yep. I'm in for the charcoal.
Yeah, me too. That's what I want to wear. And anyway.
No.
Okay.
This was done yesterday because I have to.
We have a question. We do have a question from the Peanut Gallery. Nobody gives a shit about this T-shirt stuff. What's the plushie?
Oh, I haven't announced that yet? Oh, I guess I haven't. Well, so that's another.
You don't have to here.
No, yes, you do.
No,
my wife wants to know.
Oh, really? I thought, geez, I thought that was common knowledge. I'm the months are blurring. So yeah, that's a great example. We just approved the final prototype of the Blink Dog.
Oh boy,
it's a cute as hell. So the challenge was to make. There are a lot of dog plushies, first of all. So you're moving into a into a field where there are a lot of those competitors there.
As opposed to a lot of these guys.
Yeah, well, that's a cat at least, but I mean, like, they're
going to chase those.
Yeah, that's why we did it, because we had the display space.
Right.
But there are not a lot of competing owlbears out there. Let's put it that way. But for the dog plushie, so this is basically like it kind of looks like a really cute corgi, but you're trying
That's
to.
awesome.
But you're trying. The effect we're trying to do with the way the plushies put together is to show that it's in phase, like it's phasing. It is actually going from invisible to visible, and I think we got it. And it's pretty sweet.
If you don't have the show, you'll still be able to sell those. I guarantee that's true.
So, that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. All these things that we're doing right now, if we had to stop and don't do it this year, we just flip to our October dates in 2021 and say, here's our plushie, here our die, here all this stuff is ready to go. And so as long as we
Elizabeth Stewart gives 9 dogs up in the chat for that.
Yeah,
it's really cute. It's really cute, and that's another example of something that's been done. God, how many do we order? A lot, at least 1,000, but a lot of them have been ordered, and they're being made, and because we have to get that process starting here. And
I'm sure that's much longer than making a book, I'll bet.
Yeah, I mean, that's
exactly. It's very similar, Jack. It's very similar.
I'm sure the supply chain stuff's all very much the same.
Yeah.
But it's weird when you get to the point where you have to start thinking about, we're going to do this in November, and you're already like, no, I'm really fundamentally, all of these things are done in February. The rest is just like massaging that to the end.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we even want to get off on this tangent, but I'm assuming a lot of this stuff is going to be made overseas. And is there a risk involved in that because of the world chaos? I mean, any more than anything else right now?
Sure, I guess. And
good question by me.
But yeah, the fact is that's our only option.
Yeah.
And this has been a company that's been awesome to work with.
Oh yeah, no, everything they've done has been great.
And we have such good communication. I've been very frank with that question. Is this are you folks going to be able to do this? And there's nothing. I get nothing. I get people who will say anything they need to say to get your business, but we have such a long relationship now that I just don't think that they're gonna give me puffery. So I have every confidence that they have hit every mark over the last 5 years. And in fact, we actually have our plushie design for next year, or whatever that next year is. Maybe that's 2020, 2022. I have no idea.
You can spill that one too. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that one after we stop recording.
But that's just to illustrate, to underscore what a convention of that size is required. You have to be thinking ahead, or else it's a disaster. And we've always, as you guys know, the only aspiration I've had about our show, the only one, is that it's run as well as possible. And the only way that can
you win, congratulations, you give him a medal, you can go home.
Like a Swiss watch, man.
That doesn't happen by accident. It's happened because of this type of thinking. You have to advance, you have to plan in advance, and you have to take steps in advance, and you have to have redundancy everywhere. And it's that's why.
You got German efficiency on Swiss timing. You don't have it much better than that.
Everybody who works at that con is top shelf, except for Josh
your volunteers.
Hoyt.
Everybody, I mean, they're on it. The way that
that guy's the worst.
The way that you don't see, and I love going to GaryCon. Hi, Mike Badalado. North Texas is the best, right? But you walk into Gamehole, everything's happening around you. Like you're there early, and everything's already moving, and then the whole time you're there, the only pause you make is for some guy shows up in a weird car. It's like offensive, and your guests take care of that. Everything is run so well, the guests start doing the work that they want to do. So it's really well done.
I mean, that's
well. So we're doing all the things that we need to do to make sure that we're ready to go. We have So the reason I had to make shirt choices is that the shirt company creates thumbnails, and those thumbnails go onto our website, and all those things are steps that have to be ready for VIG registration, because as you guys probably know, VIG gets a shirt with their shirt. Yeah, a bunch of other stuff. So we have to be ready to do that. So we're ready to go. We're planning on having a show because we can't not.
According to the chat, Josh is the one who runs the con. Is that true? Fair. Okay.
Yeah, Josh.
That's from Matt Finch, who runs Frog God, who has said that right there. I want to make sure that's clear.
There are. I am I am far from key. The two guys who really, but for the existence of these two people, we don't have a show. One is Royce Thigpen, who builds our entire site and all our IT and makes sure all our equipment works, and that all the things that everyone else is behind us and they copy our features every year, which they should, is because of Royce. You know, things like we did virtual ticketing before Gen Con did. You know, we're doing all that kind of stuff because of Royce Thigpen. He's tremendous, and he's cool, one of the Gamehole guys. He's a nice guy. And then Josh, who does all the he's the one who actually takes your game submissions, looks at it, understands it, puts it in space, allocates it, and then puts it into the system. And then basically
it's just his brain.
And then the whole show, the whole layout is him. He's the czar of the land. So
he's the one that keeps messing with me every single year. Now it makes more sense. No,
it could be. It's
no, and anytime I've ever asked a question from any of the people working there, Royce, Josh, anybody, I mean, they take it seriously and handled within minutes. And it is certainly not because I am anybody special. I mean, those guys know me enough to say, sit down and shut up. We're not going to handle this. Just they are on everything, just on point.
And the other guy who's really picked up a lot, and this is is Sean Riley, who's basically taken over all the marketing. So he's the one who interacts with like Zach for that. He's the one who's dealing with you guys and getting your vendor spaces and all that stuff, and talking about signage and all that. He's taken over all that, which is great. And that's the only way an operation of the size can work, is when you have a bunch of people who are.
So it has to start working now, and so your unknowns for November, if you wanted to hedge your bets, you just say no. Otherwise, you slowly plan it so you can roll it out, so you know that you can push it forward or whatever, right?
So here's the other problem. This is the other reason for the junta that I mentioned earlier, of all these con directors getting together.
Junta, right? Awesome.
Is it's not that simple. I can't at this point say Gamehole Con's not going to happen. We're going to cancel. We have contractual obligations that, and same with North Texas is in this very precarious position right now.
And there's a difference. It's so small. But to them, it's just as big. But in terms of like the impact globally,
it's as real. It's as real. Gen Con's in the same position. They have hotel attrition dates that are coming up in contracts with all these vendors. So it's not like we can say, hey, people, we're out. Sorry, this COVID thing's bad. We're not going to do it. It's not that simple. And that's why you have to get closer to your date before you can officially cancel. And that's when
and for hotels too. And for everybody. For everybody online bitching at the cons for making a decision so you can change your travel plans, that's exactly why they can't.
No, we have to be fair to the hotels as well, because honestly, we are luckily to be able to like live off the back of like things like big time conventions that work with trade shows and everything else. We get the extras. Where the fact that we can use these big shows for playing D&D is great, but those were created to do all kinds of conventions, and the hotels have survive off those. So our needs are really small compared to theirs to keep on surviving to do what they do. So
and so like here for Gamehole Con, there's nothing going on in Madison, Wisconsin of any real note other than Badger football in the fall. And so our show is a big deal to the city. It's a big deal to hotels. We sell out 8 hotels. We fill the Alliant Energy Center, which otherwise would be empty. So they're not going to say, yeah, Kammer, that's cool. You want to? It's April. Yeah, we'll let you out of all that. It's fine. That's obviously not going to happen.
They budget around that.
Yes, and if push comes to it won't even be push comes to shove. If it becomes evident that it's unsafe or we're under a government order, then we'll deal with it. But that's why we have to plan on having a show and not having a show. And it is unbelievably weird, guys. It is unbelievably weird to think about, all right, so when we can't do the show, what do we do with all these Blink dog plushies?
Alex's garage.
What do I do with all these dice? It's always funny if you guys were ever...
You had that house up in the lake. I saw the pictures on Facebook. You just put it all up there.
My law office gets so full of crap.
I bet.
the weeks leading up, because I use that as an address because I'm there, and it's become my lobby gets full
You
of
used to do
shit.
that Twitch to you, and I was so bad.
And so my I can't. That's not going to be a great long-term solution if we do a year-long pause.
Yeah.
So it's just stuff
Somebody
like that.
coming into the law office going, "Is this a law office or a game store? What's
Well,
happening
yeah,
here?"
Yeah, that's a lot of books. What are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Cameron Associates Dice. Here's your blink dog. Like here's my business card. Who are we suing today?
Nice.
Yeah, so it's strange. So we're doing the best we can. So I hope so. I hope to see you guys in the fall. God, I'd love to do it. And because I just miss, there's a circuit that we all run, and I can't believe how much I miss it. I'm stunned by it, and so I can't wait.
The people I'm so used to seeing within, I never go more than like 90 days without there are a certain group of people I see that I look forward to seeing. I see them more often. I see my family sometimes just because that's who I see.
Sure.
It's like,
man, you guys are so thirsty.
And I get all excited because I'm happy to see her. Everything about concert, the Chulip family's there, or Mike Ballow, I guess he's there too. But it's you
got to take the good with the bad.
No,
that's the way it is.
It's like, yes, it's part of my work, but that's the part of it that I enjoy of those concerts with people who I do get to see that I consider to be my close friends because I live in a tiny town. I basically live in one room with a bunch of monitors. And so I look forward to that part. And that's the hard part, though I have to admit, and I'm going to say this because I know that they're skeptics, but Bill Webb, who is the worst computer guy I've ever met and the most terrible with focus and paying attention to anything, ran a game twice now on Zoom. He ran one with my mom was in the game, her first game ever.
Yeah.
Everybody had a good time. The fact that he was able to do it and make it seem like an experience that my mother, who's terrible at focus as well, was able to pay attention to and enjoy for like 3 hours, tells me that we don't replicate being in person, but we still get to see and interact with each other in ways that we are lucky to live in the age where we can.
Oh, no kidding. Can you imagine if this
even
happened?
Even facilitate a con, our friends are still there for us, and we can arrange it much easier, I think, than usual.
I'm sure you guys have had the same thought. We're all about the same vintage. Can you imagine if we were 12 and this shit happened and what that world would look like? I mean, I was out on a farm with my two little brothers, and without being able to go to school, without being able to, so my nearest friend was like 7 miles away on a bike. And, it would have been really, it would have been fine. That's what they say about Gen Xers. We're the ones who are adapting to this the best because
we're the latchkey generation.
Exactly. Didn't get signed up for any activities, didn't go anywhere on spring break, didn't go out to eat. So this is exactly our youth being reincarnated.
Yeah, no.
And Dungeons and Dragons is there.
If this would have happened when I was 12, I can tell you exactly what I would do. I would walk around the corner from my parents' house to where my best friend lived, and we would play D&D 24/7. That is all we would do. Yeah. And we will get malnourished and rickets from like not eating fruit or something.
If making D&D is the same as playing D&D, I'm living that dream, I guess, Skeeter.
Yeah. Use a little bit more air quotes when you say dream.
Oh, yeah.
And on that note, we're going to pivot away from all this doom and gloom bullshit about conventions. And
talk about the Call of Cthulhu. Oh.
We're going to start talking about this book that just popped up on the screen called The Broader Kingdoms. Do I have that right?
You nailed it.
Yes.
Nailed it.
No, the Border Kingdoms, now available in the Dungeon Masters Guild. Oh, there's a physical copy. So shiny.
Ooh.
Written by Alex Kammer. I see that name, but who is this other guy?
Fellow?
Some kid I picked up. I thought I'd give him a chance.
That's nice of you for giving him a shot.
Yeah. I think he's gonna work out.
Yeah.
Beautiful cover.
For those of you who can't read that, that's Ed Greenwood.
Yeah, Ed Greenwood. God, he's become such a dear friend, and he's such a good guy. He, as people,
He looks like a wizard.
I hope created the Forgotten Realms, and the Forgotten Realms pre-exist D&D. He was writing.
Fantasy,
he was mapping and writing stories about the Forgotten Realms before the original, the first print brown box was released. That's how long. So it's a little bit of revisionist history to think, well, Greyhawk was the original setting. It's just not true.
Forgotten Realms were originally just stories that he was doing, wasn't it?
Stories, but maps. So it's a setting that existed. Obviously, Greyhawk was the original setting in D&D, But this is not something that TSR said, all right, let's create a new setting in 1985.
No.
You know,
there's a lot of reasons for that one, I'll bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So, but anyway, but leaving that aside, I don't want to. The last thing I want to do is Edition War.
This is Edition War. This is like we all love this, but some of our audience will die. Of the 15 we have, 8 will fall over. So anyway.
So yeah, we released this book, The Border Kingdoms, and it's a little piece of the realms. So much of the Forgotten Realms are focused, and rightly so, on the Sword Coast. I mean, you have things like Waterdeep and Baldur's Gate, iconic novels and books, and then you up to the north of the 10 towns where Salvatore has done all these amazing things, you know, up there, and Neverwinter and all this kind of stuff. It's so if you were to ask a D&D fan to name any country west of Sembia or something like that, they wouldn't be able to do it. They might pick Thay, maybe the Dales, but it's a massive continent. There's a lot of
Forgotten Realms very well. I feel bad now.
No, but it's just that there are tons of wonderful stories to be told about it. So anyway, the reason this came to be is that there's this D&D, when they released 5th edition, of course, launched an analogous, complementary organized play system, which they called Adventures League. And Adventure League started chugging along, and it was incredibly popular, and lots of people wanted to play. And they couldn't keep up with content, releasing enough content for people to play the
official
seasons.
Content, like their regular channels.
Yeah. So then they started allowing conventions to write their own content through a managed system where you would apply. Here's our idea. Here's our storyline. Okay.
There's one more thing about a convention that goes back to way back to prep.
So that's another whole other subject. Like our authors are all working currently around the country on writing D&D modules for our show in November for Adventures League. These are some great. Every year the lineup of authors for our show is just mind-boggling. But so to help solve that problem, the Wizards correctly and smartly, wisely, decided to let shows create their own content. Why not offload that onto competent people who could do this? So you go through an approval process. If you're approved, then you can submit your ideas, and then when you have them written, you submit them and they get approved by the admins, the Adventure League admins, to make sure that you're not, write some goofy stuff that breaks the rules somehow.
Obviously, the Shire down by Sword Coast, that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to. There's certain standards that you have to abide by, which is great. And
He's
so that
West Galarian.
yeah, right. So this all worked very well. And so then as this was developing, Wizards said, all right, there are those that are better at this than others. Their content is really good, and their shows are good. They're well run professionally. So they fortunately picked 2 groups basically to have their own piece of the Forgotten Realms developed. One was Dave Christ with Baldwin Games, and he does all the Adventures League for Origins and Gen Con.
That's the small ones, yeah.
Yeah, and that's Baldwin Games, and he also does some other things like Winter Fantasy is his show. Right. So and Dave's an awesome guy, and he's well deserved, and
I don't know him. I've heard nice things about him.
He's such a good guy, and he really knows how to run a show, and he's just a good person. Anyway, so they selected the Moonshae Isles, which is an interesting pick. So that's where their stories are all located there. So when Chris Lindsay of Wizards reached out to me and said, Alex, would you consider doing this? I said, obviously, of course I would. And at that point, Ed was a member of the family, and so I reached out to Ed and said, we're being afforded this opportunity. We can pick anywhere in the realms to stake out our own, except for the Sword Coast, because that's where they're going to do the things. And at that point, also the Moonsea was where all the initial Adventure League stuff was being set. We couldn't be there, which is fine. So we had a list of 10. We started going through it, and I said, Ed, so when you ask Ed Greenwood about the Forgotten Realms, it's a little bit like sipping from a fire hose.
No, it's
like,
here's this place you invented. Now pick a small place you can write about again.
Yeah, it's like it's crazy.
You know, right here, right now.
It's crazy. It just explodes with lore. And so I said, look, whoa. These 10 locations that you've given, suggested to me. Which one would you like to do? They said, well, the Border Kingdoms. The Border Kingdoms is someplace I've always wanted to develop more, and it's got all these features that I like, and they are, it's temperate, it's chaotic, it's very geographically, it's
Canada.
It's all
It's his backyard.
Yeah, it's not at all like Canada. It's more like it's much more analogous to a banana republic in the Central America. It's warm, it's unstable.
Like Texas. No, okay.
Yeah, well, closer to Canada. So that's, we picked that, and so we started writing. We got to create lore about about the Border Kingdoms and set our adventures there for eventually. And then we thought, well, we should have a setting book. So basically, we splatted something out really quick that Ed had a bunch of lore that he had. Most of it was accessible online. He finished it. We put it out in a PDF, and it was really, it was just a Word document basically. And then
but by him.
But so it was good stuff, but it wasn't laid out well, and it wasn't. It was fine.
It was okay, gotcha.
So OBS, One Bookshelf, DM's Guild, reached out to me and said,
"We want to redo it."
if you are interested in putting this together as a print on demand product, and you take your manuscript and actually make it a real book, we'd love to have it. I thought, I'm interested in talking about this. And so then I thought, well, if we're going to do that, if it's going to be worth the effort of going through all this, I want this to be official Wizards canon.
That's what makes you different from almost everybody I know, is that you got to the point where, okay, they must want something because they want to put this in the book. It's going to sell money. I already wrote the book. What do I get now?
Well,
no, but what you're doing is you're doing a good thing for everybody.
Well, that's exactly.
Most authors don't think that way. I deal with authors all day long, and I have been one. You usually don't go, okay, while we're at it, I want you to add me to canon.
Well, if we're gonna go through all that time and effort, I would like it to be something that that sits alongside these books back here, these 5e books, as with the same validity and weight of those. And they said, yes, you have to, of course, write it and submit it, and then rewrite it, and then submit it again. And it's a real process.
There are branding rules that they actually follow very closely.
Now let's be honest about this. It's a lot different if Alex Kammer says, "Hey, I want to do this for this book," than if Skeeter Green says, "Hey, you're going to do this." They're going to say,
he gets a cease and desist.
I even live closer to WotC than you do.
That's exactly
but
why.
They are just not going to do that.
Your picture's part of the door, do not admit.
That is possible. I used to go there frequently.
That's funny. What we did is I said, look, guys, at my friends at Wizards, we'll do this. And if I'm going to spend the time and money to do this, you got to be a real partner. And that means we need a new map. And you guys, and you've done some beautiful maps. Mike Schley has done wonderful maps of the Sword Coast. And we want a proper, this is going to sit again in this shelf and look like these other books. It has to have those same features. So they said, yes. I said, why would I spend money on with your IP and building your book when it's not mine? It's not my setting. This is your setting.
Right there, I would have said, I'll be happy to build this book, but you want to spend the money so I could be a part of your IP. But you see it as your clarity is very good, Alex. I like it.
Well, I appreciate that. But anyway, they said that makes total sense. We'll do that. But we did the rest. So they provided a beautiful map that Mike did. It's just beautiful. It
makes a lot of difference.
So the Border Kingdom's a very small geographically very small, but it's so detailed. All these little towns and hamlets. And so I said, Ed, Mike is going to do this map for us. We need to get a rough to him, as to what we like. And he fucking packed this thing with so much detail. Like, oh my God, I can't, what are they going to do with this? How are they going to make all these little dots that are so adjacent to each other, these crazy names?
I didn't know exactly what you're going through right now with that. The story hits me really hard, because I'm like, you give something on paper, like, they can't even read that.
And so we sent it, and then Mike did a beautiful job, and it's a really detailed map. I can, let's see, it's on, it's right. Where are we here? Let's see if I can show that. Like,
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's really.
And you know what? I love it because
nice.
they do a very nice job in the 5th editions to make sure, although the maps are different enough to be interesting, they all follow a very similar feel in a way they haven't since they were in blue maps.
Yeah, exactly. The maps that I love are
They're
the two,
sophisticated.
the
And
two,
sophisticated but simple at the same time. I don't know.
the maps that came in the 2E boxes.
Yeah.
Like the Waterdeep maps and stuff where you fold them out and they're, 18 feet long when they're all assembled. It's just crazy, and they're unbelievably. You'll never see that again. That'll never happen again.
Hey.
Well,
okay.
You guys have, yeah, but I mean, no, as in a box set, and that's going to be part of the box set that you're going to ship to everyone, not as you paid enough money on this Kickstarter and you 5 people get this. No, like everyone, that's not going to happen ever again. The cost of the math doesn't make any sense anymore.
Well, I
bought Gale Force 9's maps that they made for Waterdeep Dragon Heist, and they're really nice. And but that's what you would have gotten in a box before for half the cost. That's why, if you want to ask why, how can you sell those Dungeons and Dragons and still lose money? It's because you're putting all this stuff in a box and selling at low cost. So, yeah.
So the book then has new maps, all this lore, tons of art, and you guys, because with it just happened to work out that Frog God, you guys were slow, so I was able to step to Casey and say, Casey, would you help me with a bunch of art?
Casey's a tramp. He'll just work with anybody.
Well, he said he's very loyal to his artists and said these people need some work.
That's absolutely true.
And they did a wonderful job.
Who did you use? Like Adrian or CJ or
a bunch of people. So the interior illustrators are Brett Barkley, Jim Butler, Casey did one, Adrian, CJ Marsh, Santa.
She's awesome. Her stuff's amazing.
Hector, Dean Spencer, and Quentin Sullivan. Yeah. So I mean, I gave them. I said I need.
That's everybody Mark Cyrus.
I need 40 pieces. And
wow, how many pages?
It's 119.
This is you. This is very much a Sea King's Mouth.
Well,
it's very beautifully illustrated. Like it's
great. Casey does a fine job.
He did an awesome job. So and again, Wizards didn't have to have it. Wizards had no role in this, and this is great. So they just said, you do this, Kammer, and we'll look at it and approve it. But it's your deal
for them.
Yeah. So basically, the long and short of it is that there is all this lore on the Border Kingdoms, the section of the Forgotten Realms. I wrote 11 new character backgrounds for 5e that are all sanctioned, fully legal character backgrounds, and people like that. You could pick, you have a character. It's the background of the character. If you understand,
I think those are really cool and underutilized.
I think so too. And so I had a lot of fun with them. They're pretty, some pretty weird stuff that I wrote in there, and they got approved. I mean, there's some stuff that I was like, wow, they really let me do
That's
that.
That's how you know they didn't read them. No kidding.
No, they really did. I tried to do a character that's basically a MacGyver, and I called it. Your thing was you could MacGyver something. I said, well, you can't call it MacGyver.
Those cowards.
Yeah. So
you think they make a game of heroics? Huh.
Yeah. So basically, there's a character. There's a build. Not a build. That's too power gamer. It's you have a background where in a pinch, you can take what's around you, and with a couple of different checks, you come up with a way to hopefully sort this out, and just stuff like that. It's fun. So that's in there. All the lore and
you're like the A team, but one person. The B team.
So anyway, the reception has been. It's only been out for a week, and it's been selling like crazy.
Well, I just bought one, so
thank you.
I just bought one online. Awesome. It's winging its way to me soon.
And the book is beautiful. These are the softback. I gave away all my hardbound copies. I'm going to have to order one myself.
That's what I ordered. So
you'll be able to get plenty more.
I gotta have you sign it.
Well, and Ed is hopefully will come to GameholeCon this fall if it happens. Great. If it happens, first of all, and also if he's in good enough health. He had open heart surgery in December, I think, and he's been coming along pretty well. But we'll see.
It was my first GameholeCon when he was there, and you introduced me to him so he could sign my Forgotten Realms box that I bought 30 seconds before then from Ingo. So I wanted him to sign that. I overpaid that from that low rent Texan.
Hey,
I overpaid for that, but I got him to sign. One of my prized possessions because he's one of the people that had such a huge influence that I don't think his presence places is not as big as his influence was.
Right. True.
And I think he looks like a wizard too. That too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the first time I ever met Ed was, I think, the second year or third year of PaizoCon. And it was in this like dingy basement bar, and he was standing on the steps and was talking to some people. And I looked at him and I was like, who is this guy cosplaying Elminster? I mean,
Yeah.
what the hell? And it was like, oh, that's Ed Greenwood. And I'm like, you're
Oh, it is
shitting
Elminster.
me. Shut your mouth. And
You
yeah,
are really terrible about when you see people that
I am.
names you.
I am
Really
the
worse.
worst at meeting people.
So I have a
It's-
question for you, Alex.
Yeah.
What's in the future for you with all these bold moves you've made with Wizards IP, like sliding one past Kirk Gould and stuff like right here? What's your kind of future stuff you want to do for content, just for you or for anything?
Well, I hope to next Tuesday survive my Boot Hill game that I'm playing with Kurt
Yeah,
and
good
Mike
luck.
Girls and a bunch of people. That fucking game is deadly.
No,
I mean,
it is. I'll tell you what, that is not really a role playing game. That's a board game almost.
No,
You don't last long.
It's hilarious if you look at the rules and you read through it. I actually did recently because we're playing this game. There's a campaign section. How the hell do you campaign in it? There's no way you can campaign in Boot Hill because any shot, anytime you get shot, it has nothing to do with you. It's not like there's any armor class or anything like that. If you get hit, the shooter rolls where you hit you, and it's most likely going to be a torso shot, and you're dead. The end.
Yeah.
It's a save or die game, but you don't get to make the save.
Well,
it's a lot. It's worse, but a lot like a Call of Cthulhu game. If you're in a gunfight in either one of those games, it's over.
Something's gone horribly wrong.
One of the things that always stuck with me is that I was talking together, not to name drop, with Jim Ward and Steve Winter and Frank Minster sitting at a table at breakfast in North Texas, which is why you should go. That's who's there. Anyway, and the point was brought up that ballistic weapons, once you hit once you get bullets, period, muskets or whatever, once the firing time is less than one round in the game, it can fundamentally ruin games as we know it. You have to have a different kind of dynamic for role playing with them.
Right.
Sure.
And Boot Hill was built very much on a D&D model in terms of how we're going to make it. Well, they had campaigns. Well, of course you didn't have campaigns. There's not the game's not made for that.
Well,
Gangbusters the same way.
The other, axiomatic, I'm not saying problem, just feature is that the D&D deals the conceit that we have for D&D is divine healing, right? We're cutting each other up with axes and stuff like that. We can heal each other. This is the Wild West. You take a gut shot, you are gonna freaking die.
They need some divine healing there. That's
there's nothing like that. I mean, you're not gonna
civilized.
You could there's so that's all house rule at that point, that you can somehow find a surgeon in some town.
I got a cactus on the rub of my wound.
And then you're getting.
I desperately want to play a Boot Hill version of Bone Tomahawk. That movie Bone Tomahawk, that would be perfect for Boot Hill because it's savage. I mean, it is bad news. If you get hurt, you're gonna die.
Westerns are such an important trope for our society. They don't make as much anymore, but when we were all growing up, our fathers certainly were heavily raised on Westerns.
Yep.
And so it's a big part of our psyche. But I think that what we see now is fewer and fewer of those, and that's why I think there are fewer games. But the games that are there that try to adapt are pretty good too. Like I really did like Aces Over Eights or Aces and Eights. Mm-hmm. The Shot Clock. Did you ever play that one with the actual shot clock?
That's Jolly's game.
Yes, it is Jolly's game, and it's very good just for that reason alone.
Yeah.
And but they would work. That's 10 years, 15 years of work in an industry to try to make it so you can actually enjoy it, as opposed to here I am, guns blazing, and that's what happens to you, right? I blame Steve Winter.
So I was a smart ass I didn't answer your question. So the about what's happening next. So the project that, and I just had worked on today in a fairly significant way, is doing another Frog God book. That
they let you.
Yeah, right. Somehow I talked my way into another book.
Oh, yeah.
This is
exciting.
This is going to be set in a part of the Lost Lands called the Haunted Steppes. So it is it's
like suburbs.
I am familiar.
It's very interesting part of. I've never seen quite this combination of elements where it's isolated for reasons, and the part of it is that basically there's a Mordor-like evil to the north that is barely contained by a set of really poorly understood magi, and so it's been cut off, said like, keep that shit behind this wall because that's bad. And it's inhabited by basically tribal Genghis Khan like folk that have been destroyed over time by the conflagrations that have happened, and only recently has trade been reestablished with this area. And it's a perfect. I've wanted to write a more horror themed and just more weird. Sea King's Malice had a lot of weird in it, and you guys said that's great. And I thought, you like that? Well, guess what? So now I'm teaming up with my good buddy Alan Patrick, and Alan is one of the Adventure League D&D admins.
He's up and coming. No.
He's a really good author and a really smart guy. We had a lengthy Zoom today about plotting out stuff, and it's really going to be cool. So the whole premise is that that your new adventures in this land, and it's a great place to go as a new adventurer because there's a lot of opportunities there. But man, stuff is going really sideways. Like spirits are walking at night, and the townsfolk are like, what the hell? This is even worse than usual. This is all kinds of things are like the binds of society.
I think it's worse than Utah. Like it must be.
things are going bad, and despite the fact, for example, that it's spring going to summer in the far north, the nights are getting longer, and bad things are happening at night all over the place. And
there's somebody in chat. His name is Tom Knaus. He's done some writing there. He says he knows the secret, but his lips are sealed. I think he's asking for a bribe.
It is Tom Knaus who lives in the Haunted Steps.
Well, here's a little piece that is going to be in this book, and that is that the Gnoll is going to be a playable class. That's going to be.
I love Gnolls, man.
We created the rules to be able to be a Gnoll character, because what is one of the pieces, and this is really one of the big. Zach, you guys were very kind and said, hey, just look around and see where you would like to write a book. One of the pieces that hooked me about the Haunted Steps was that this relationship between the Gnolls and the rest of civilized humanoids, that when shit was really breaking bad, the Gnolls made common cause with humanoids to fight evil. And since then, they've had a truce, and Gnolls are not like Gnolls in the rest of D&D.
Because they're always given that they were kept down by the man.
Yeah, I agree. Gnolls are fantastic. So anyway, Gnolls have a central role in this book, a big part of this book, and they're going to be, so I'm really excited about it.
I got some stuff for a thing I also wrote for Frog God that I'll let you take a look at. You may have interest in, Mr. Kammer.
Please.
Involving Gnolls that went the other way. And got worse.
Okay.
Oh.
Because
the whole those Gnoll Skeeter.
Well, so the Haunted Steps, it's a, well, I guess topical, like a virus or an infection that the whole area is tainted, and everyone knows that, and they live with it as part of the day-to-day life. But for some reason, all of a sudden, it's getting worse, and it's getting markedly so, to the point where the dead are rising, and all kinds of stuff is going, like stuff is randomly getting knocked off shelves by unquiet spirits. Like it's just it's going crazy, and I am super excited about writing.
It's about to get unreal. Yeah.
It sounds fantastic.
It's going to be a book that is going to. Sea King's Malice. I really enjoyed writing. I'm very proud of parts of it. I liked the whole thing. But this is going to be so much bigger. It's going to allow for so much more lateral movement. There's going to be so much more setting material. There's going to be so much more sandbox pieces. While there's a central theme, there are going to be 2 or 3 ways you can get to where we'd like you to be at the, approximately the end. And this is going to be a book that's going to go from first level to probably 14 or something like that. Because there's just
all the way to 20, man. What are you waiting on?
Well, we need another Captain Timothy.
Yes, we do. Can I recommend Captain Kurt?
I am going to. So
Captain Curtis.
This made me. North Texas is likely going to be canceled, and that's sad.
Well, I'm not sure that that's. I think it could be. I don't know how likely, because of
the size of it and when. It's weird. Yes.
It's
I
in a
know,
weird
but
spot.
but I was looking at my players and my two games, like, oh my god, what great groups of players, and I have a Sea King's Malice adjacent story that I played for the Kickstarter backers at Gamehole Con, and I'm going to do that because it's so much fun. I'm going to do that. I plan to do that at North Texas, and there might be my favorite ever NPC character to show up in that because I heart him so much. I just
we all heart him. We all heart him very much. I want to make a giant convention size ad with him, but I was knocked down by Bill.
Hey, if North Texas does happen, I got in your Cthulhu Invictus game.
I saw that. Yeah, and that again, this was going to be my entire spring season of running that, and I got to run it at Winter Fantasy, and I haven't run it since.
Once again, the Canals is dropping a bunch of bombs here now, and I just wanted to bring it up. They said parts of New Jersey make the haunted steps look like Disneyland. And I've been to the Meadowlands, so I think that might be true.
I don't doubt that.
That's what we wrote at night was Jersey.
So yeah, what's the analogy of the friendly knoll in New Jersey?
Tom
Canals.
He's the knoll.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. Well, we are at the 1 hour point. Alex, is there anything you'd like to wrap us up with? I mean, you've given us so much so far.
You've given us some secrets and you hinted at some of the darker ones. You've talked about serious stuff, talked about fake stuff. It's awesome. But anything else you want to bring up?
I'm cautiously optimistic that the Border Kingdoms setting book that we did for in cooperation with Wizards, that I very much hope that they're going to allow us to do another one. And I won't say where, but there's a plan in place that a proposal has been given, and I hope that they let us do that with. So it would be Ed Greenwood and I doing another joint on a different part of the realms that people are going to be excited about, and I hope that happens, but I don't know at this point, so I can't say beyond that.
Tom.
They'd be dumb not to do it. That's right.
Yeah, Tom. I know what the secret of that one is, but I'm not going to say it either.
And I really hope that I get to see you all at in Madison this fall. I really do. It's so fun. It's a lot of work, but the show itself is the joy of it. I mean, that's the whole fun, is once it's all, the die has been cast, as they say, and I get to glad hand at that point. I get to be the mayor. I get to walk around and say hello, talk to my friends, and pop in games, and see the fun that's everyone having, and really have meaningful catch up time with people. I really hope
if nothing else, and the show does have to be canceled, me and Zach and the Jams will just come out anyway.
Yeah, no,
absolutely.
We're actually, seriously, we have so many airline tickets from ones we had to cancel. Flights.
No shit. I've
Same here.
Credit for everywhere.
Yeah, Skeeter, your event got canceled, which is just such a bummer. So yeah, it's just another one that got lumped into this freaking credit. I have a lot of credit I've got to spend too.
You just got a 5-gallon bucket of credits for flights everywhere.
I already flew on standby, but now positive space credits is something I'm not really used to. But Skeeter and I want to go because we figure we might as well get somewhere if it's safe enough to travel. We're going to travel around and see some of the better collections up in that area and take some pictures and put it on our little treasure maps.
Now, that being said, I was a dummy at the last Gamehole Con because Jason Gardner brought his entire family and Ian McGarty brought his girls, and I joked with the Gardner boys, sneeze in my mouth so I get sick and don't have to go back to work after the convention.
Oh boy, are you stupid.
And they did. And I got super sick.
Well,
so I'm not going to do that anymore.
The show is safer with Skeeter away from me. It's true.
I didn't think they were actually going to do it. They caught me off guard.
That's why it makes you dumb. It's not them, it's you.
Yeah, it was my fault as the adult in the equation, but yeah, no, it was the last. I mean, every
school. You should not be. Yeah, school age kids.
No,
I'm not around any children except I see them on TV occasionally selling me stuff.
Glove them. Yeah.
It's like a CDC warning for anybody that's
No, I think we forget that as adults. We forget that everybody that I see in game conventions is adults. I'm not that worried. So they all go home to kids, and kids are in school. Schools are like
they're adults. Yeah.
Anyway, I think that went very well. I, for one, am excited about what this Frog God game book you're working on is going to be like, but it's going to be great. I'm excited.
Zach,
I appreciate that.
Zach, one of these days we're going to have to teach you how to sit on camera so you can actually be in the frame.
Nope.
You need one of these. You need one of these. There's no wiggle room.
Yeah, it's the Illuminati chair.
I don't rate one of those.
The Iron Throne.
I need to will your world emperor.
I'm actually surprised you don't have an Iron Throne.
If you're going to ask me, did the thought occur to me?
Oh yes, no, I have no illusions that it did not.
We were pretty sure the thought occurred to you.
Yeah, but that's a lot of swords, man.
That is a lot.
Excuse
wait,
why you have to make me cry for you? Oh,
I think
why you feel strict.
I have. Do I have one more? I had one more thing to pop up. It was Alex Kammer on YouTube being interviewed about the Gamehole Con. And I don't have a pop-up.
Yeah, that was last. That was probably last September.
Yeah, it's a multi.
Yep, these guys came and shot. It was really far out. They came and shot a ton of time where we were up here, and they interviewed me for a long time. We just talked about life, the universe, and everything, and they're now releasing it in the series of interviews.
Yeah,
I don't understand.
Collective.
The Haunt Collective. They're cool guys, and so we talk about everything from why Gamehole Con has such a weird name. What is all this stuff behind me?
And wearing that goddamn Taco Cat shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you don't eat tacos anymore, so you can't bring that up as much. Vegetarian tacos aren't real. Anyway, on that note.
Yep. Now that we're helping out other shows that are probably much more skilled than we are, Alex, it is always our pleasure to have you on and get to talk to you. Thank you for talking about the conventions and what's been going on behind the scenes.
Thanks for the work you do on behalf of everybody, because what happens there affects all of us, whether we go conventions or not, because the stuff gets right back, and it's all how publishers and businesses are involved. Our best interest is in everybody's hands, and I'm glad that's the case. It's not each convention against each other. They're all working together to make something workable for everybody. So I appreciate that.
Everybody should get a chance to talk to Alex when you're telling him about your favorite character build.
Don't sneeze in his mouth,
ask him about all the things he does for everybody behind the scenes.
If you could tell me about your bad poker beats too, I love hearing those stories. So that's great. But seriously, I love you guys. It's so great to see you. It's so great to see the people that are watching. I miss all of you. Be safe. This is a really strange time, and it's affecting all of us in really direct and dramatic ways. Just try. We'll get to the other side of it, and do follow the recommendations that we're all being told. And by people who are smarter than us on this stuff. And my wife is a frontline medical provider, and she's going to. I know. I thought about her. She's going to the hospital every day, and it's crazy. And it's not as bad. We're not Seattle or New York yet. But
when they downplay it, they're doing a disservice to everybody. It's a serious thing.
Yeah. Please thank her from us collectively as the gaming community. She's doing something
down on the front lines
of
us are nothing that's serious.
And all the other providers that from first responders to nurses to doctors. These are the real heroes. This is great that we get to talk about this stuff that we're gonna have. And the reason that we know that we're gonna have life after this is because of these awesome people. Yeah, and that's tremendous. And let's keep that in the forefront of our mind.
Well, that put me in my place for like how my life is Peter Pan.
I'm not going to say anything else because I will just ruin it. So thank you everybody for tuning in. This has been Goddammit Zach. For Zach, I am his sidekick Skeeter Green. Thank you. We'll see you next week.
You're my alibi.
Yeah, that too.